Shabbat Shalom. Nice to see you.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
I was surprised at how much progress I made. Deborah has a board that she's always on.
Check and make sure.
But actually, when it took off, I was like, almost last night, it was how much dinner I was cooking. Because who knows how much, like. Yeah, that's really wonderful. Hi, Jim. Shabbat Shalom. How are you?
You should take all the others this morning.
If needed, we can, but if not,
They don't need it, but
oh,
help with the.
I'd rather, that's very sweet. If someone's here who doesn't usually get it, I'd rather give mine to them.
Okay.
But if so, I'm happy to give them. But thank you. That's very sweet.
Wow. This book looks so different.
I know.
It's got a red cover. And in here, like,
Oh, they put it in where there's a Torah.
like each time I find it difficult to see. But like the mock, there's this huge.
103.
We never used the fats and shine.
Yeah.
No, we could have chosen that Sidor 2 years ago. We chose Sidor because the full sunshine was too heavy. Never.
Good morning, Shabbat Shalom to all of you who are with us virtually, as well as the few, the brave, the dati who are with us actually. And we'll, what?
Do you have a mic on?
I don't know. No.
Can you hear Rabbi Schuldenfrei through his microphone?
Test. No.
Because they need to hear it through the microphone, so that's why I'm asking. Yeah, you can hear him.
Test.
Aha, now we hear
That's better. I just said the most brilliant of our Torah. If I do say so myself, it will be lost. Anyway, it's nice to see. I'm assured by our presence online. That's what I'm relying on. Anyway, we are happy to begin this morning with blessings of gratitude. Birchot HaShachar, page 103. Please rise. Page 103.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lasach vivina leavchin ben yom uven laila.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'asani b'tzalmo.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani bat chorin.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asani Yisrael.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish arumim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam matir asurim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kefufim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam roka haaretz alamayim.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam amechin mitzadei gaver.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa li kotzorki.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam ozer Yisrael bigvura.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oter Yisrael b'tifara.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanotein laya'ef koach.
Amen. Baruch
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu
Eloheinu
melech haolam hama'avir shina me'inanu ma'afachai. Nenu yom v'chol yom l'cheinu l'chesed l'rachamim b'einecha u'b'einei chol ro'einu v'tigmalenu chasadim tovim Baruch atah Adonai gomel chasadim tovim li'amo Yisrael.
Page 112.
Yom Yom Shabbat Kodesh Shebo Ayu Aleviim Ormim Miveit HaMikdash Mizmor Shir Liyom HaShabbat Tov Lo Dov Adonai Lo Zamei Eloshim Chai Elyon Nagid B'Brokecha Tzlach Hamonotcha B'Leilot HaMetzra. Od Yonu Vunda Seva Deshenim V'Rananim Yiyu Le'agid Ki Yashar Adonai Tsuri V'Lo Avlat Tabo.
Page 120.
Mizmor Shir Chanukah Tabayid LeDavid. Arumim Chanukah Kitin. Elecha Adonai Ekra V'el Adonai Etchanan. Elecha Adonai Ekra V'el Adonai Etchanan. Shema Adonai V'choneni Adonai ozer li. Shema Adonai v'choneni Adonai ozer li. Hafachta mitzvadi lemacholi pitachta saki v'tazreini simcha למען יזמרך כבוד ולא ידום Adonai Elohai leolam modeka.
We'll invite those of you who are in mourning or observing a yahrzeit to please rise, page 121, Mourner's Kaddish, and also those of you who are at home, of course. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah.
Amen.
Bi'alma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayachon uv'yameachon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehi shmei rabba mevorach le'olam omei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shemei dikudisha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran bi'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlomo rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. Please rise. Baruch Shamar, the beginning of Pesukei de Zimra, page 122.
Baruch she'amar ve'haya olam. Baruch hu. Baruch oseh v'reishit. Baruch omer v'oseh. Baruch ozer umkayem. Baruch mirachem al haaretz. Baruch merachem al habriot, Baruch mishalem sachar tov lireah, Baruch chai la'ad v'kayam lanetzach, Baruch podeh umatzil, Baruch shemo. Ay la na 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 ya la 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 la, ay la 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 la, ya la la ya la 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 la, ay na ya na 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 na, ya na na ya la la la, ya la la ya la la ya la la la, ya la la ya la la, ya la 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 la, ya la la ya la la ya la 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 la, la la ya la 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 la, ya na na ya na na na. Yana nai 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 nai, lai 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 lai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Yachid Olami, Melech Meshubach Umforadeh Shemo Hagadol. Baruch atah Adonai, Melech Meulal Batishpachot.
Amen. Ashrei, page 136.
Ashrei Yoshvei Beitecha, Od Yalelucha Selah. Ashrei Shekach Lo Shem Shadonai Elohav Tehillah LeDavid Armimcha. Tehillah Adonai daber pi vivarech kol basar shem kodsho liolam va'ed v'anachnu nevarech ya me'atav yad olam. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah nafshi et Adonai, hallelujah b'chayai azamar le'Eloi be'odi al tidzechu b'di v'yimenu. Adonai shemeret kerim yatom yamana yoded v'derech hasha'im ye'avet yimloch Adonai le'olam Eloi chtzin l'dor v'ador. Hallelujah.
Page 141, the top of the page, the 150th Psalm. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah el bekodsho. Hallelujah birkia uzo. Hallelujah bigvurotav. Hallelujah kirov gudlo. Hallelujah beteka shofar. Hallelujah benevel v'chinor. Hallelujah betof u'machol. Hallelujah beminim ve'ugav. Kol anshama tehallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah betziltzei shama. Hallelujah betziltzei trua. Kol anshama tehallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Kol anshama tehallelujah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Baruch Adonai le'olam amen ve'amen. Baruch Adonai mitzion shechino. Uvaruch Shem kvodo le'olam. V'malech kvodo od kol haaretz. Amen ve'amen.
Page 145.
Nishmat kol chai. Tevarech et shimcha Adonai Eloheinu. V'ruch kol basar tvarer Torah. אין אנחנו מספיקים לדעות לך אדוני מי ידמה לך ומי ישווה לך ומי יערוך לך? האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא אל עליון, קונה שמיים וארץ. נהללך ונשבחך ונפארך ונברך את שם קודשך, כאמור לדוד ברכי נפשי את אדוני וכל קרבי את שם קודשו.
Page 147, Shochin Ad.
שוכן עד מרום וקדוש שמו, וכתוב לנו צדיקים באדוני לשבים תהילה ותשבים. ובלשון חסידים תתרומם, ובקרב קדושים תתקדש, ובמקלות רבבות עמך בית ישראל, ברינה יתברשים המגן המון המדרשים אמן. על כל דברי שירות ותשבחות, דוד בן ישי, עבדך משיחך.
Page 148.
ישתבח שמך לעד מלכנו, האל המלך הגדול והקדוש בשמיים ובארץ, חנו אדוני אלוהינו, אלוהים אבותינו ואמותינו. ברכות והודעות מעתה ועד עולם, ברוך אתה אדוני, אל מלך גדול בתשבחות, אל ההודעות אדון הנפלאות, הבוחר בשירי זמרה, מלך מלכי העולמים. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא דברה חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחיי חון ובימי ובחי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עולמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתעטר ויתעלה ויתהלל, שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן ביעלמה ואמרו Amen.
Please remain standing for the Baruch Hu, our call to prayer, the bottom of page 149.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech HaOlam, Yotzer Or Uvorei Choshech, Oseh Shalom Uvorei Et HaKol. HaKol Yoducha v'Kol Yishavchucha v'Kol Yimolcha. אין קרקך ואין זולתך, אפס בלתך ומי דומה לך. אין קרקך אדוני אלוהינו בעולם הזה, ואין זולתך מלכנו לחיי העולם הבא. אפס בלתך גואלנו לימות המשיח, ואין דומה לך מושיענו לתחיית המתים.
Page 151, El Adon.
Ya lai la lai lai ya nai na nai, hai lai la lai 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 lai, nai nai na nai, nai nai na nai, hai nai na nai 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 nai. El Adon al kol ha'ma'asim, Baruch umvorach befi kol neshama, Godlo v'tuvo malei olam, Da'at u'tvuna sovevim oto. Ha'mitkae achayot ha'kodesh v'nedar b'chavod, al ha'merkava zechut u'mishor lifnei chiso, chesed v'rachamim lifnei kevodo. טובים מאורות שברא אלוהינו, יצרם בדעת בבינה ובהשכל, כוח וגבורה נתן בהם, להיות מושלים בקרב תבל, מלאים זיו ומפיקים נוגה, נועה זיוום בכל העולם, שמחים בצאתם וששים בבואם, עושים ביים הרצון קונם, פאר וכבוד נותנים לשמו, צהלה ורינה לזכר מלכותו, קרא לשמש ויזרח אור, ראה והתקין סורת הלבנה, שבח נותנים לו כל צבא מרום, תפארת וגדולה, שרפים ויופנים וחיות הקודש, ילאי ללאי לאי ינאי ננאי, נאי ננאי נאי ילאי ללאי, ללאי ללאי, הלאי ללאי, ללאי ללאי לאי 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 לאי. לאל אשר שבת מכל המעשים. זה יום השביתה.
Towards the bottom of the top paragraph, page 152.
תתברך מושיענו על שבח מעשה ידיך, ועל מאורי אור שעשית יפרוך הסלע. תתברך צורנו, מלכנו וגואלנו, בורא קדושים. מברכים ומשבחים ומפארים ומריצים ומקדישים וממליכים את שם האל המלך הגדול. להקדיש ליוצרם בנחת רוח, בשפה ברורה ונימה קדושה, כולם כאחד עונים ואומרים ביראה, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוא כל הארץ כבודו, והאופנים וחיות הקודש ברעש גדול מנסים לעומת שרפים, לעומתם משבחים ואומרים, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, לאל ברוך נעמו תיתנו למלך חי וקיים ושמר. אור חדש על ציון תאיר, ונזכה כולנו מהרה לאורו. ברוך אתה אדוני, יוצר המאורות.
We continue with Ahava Rabbah, page 154.
אהבה רבה אהבתנו, אדוני אלוהינו חמלה גדולה ויתרה.
And we gather our tzitzit in preparation for the Shema, V'havienu l'shalom me'arba kanfot ha'aretz.
הביאנו לשלום מארבע כנפות הארץ, ותוליכנו כממיות לארצנו, כי אל פועל ישועות אתה, ובנו בחרת מכל עם ולשון, וקרבתנו לשמך הגדול, סלע באמת, להודות לך ויחדך באהבה. ברוך אתה אדוני, הבוחר בעמו ישראל, באהבה. שמע ישראל, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות פן עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, והיה אם שמוע תשמעו מצוותי אשר לכם מצווכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת. יציב נחום וקיים וישר ונאמן הוא.
Towards the top of page 157.
לדור ודור הוא קיים ושמו קיים וחיסון נכון ומלכותו ואמונתו לעד קיימת. כדור רב חיים וקיימים ונאמנים ונוחים. על הראשונים יל האחרונים דבר טוב וקיים לעולם ואין אמת ואמונה חוק ולא יעבור אמת. פודנו מצילנו מעולם שמך אין אלוהים זולתך. עזרת אבותינו ואמותינו אתה הוא מעולם מגן ומושיע לבניהם אחריהם בכל דור. על זאת שיבחו אהובים ורממו אל ונענו רם לניסה גדול ונורא משפוגים ומגישה. תהילות לאל עליון ברוך הוא ומבורך משה ומרים ובני ישראל לכענו שירה בשמחה רבה ואמרו כולם מי כמוך באלים אדוני מי כמוך נהדר בקודש נורא תהילות עושה פלא. שירה חדשה שיבחו גאולים לשמך על שפת הים יחד כולם הודו והמליכו ויאמרו אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. צור ישראל קומה בעזרת ישראל ופתחי נאומך יהודה וישראל. גואלנו אדוני צבאות שמו קדוש ישראל ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Amen. We begin together with the Amidah for Shacharit, page 159.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Abraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Agadol Agibor ve'Anora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim וקונה הכל וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות ומביא גואל לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה מלך עוזר ופוקד ומושיע ומגן ברוך אתה אדוני מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי מתים אתה רב להושיע. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישוע, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים.
The Kedusha, page 161.
נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה, ויאמר, קדוש, 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 אדוני צבאות, מלוך כל הארץ, כבודו. אז בקול רעש גדול, אדיר וחזק משמיעים קול, מתנשאים לעומת שרפים, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו, ממקומך מלכנו תופיע, ותמלוך עלינו כי מחכים אנחנו לך. מתי תמלוך בציון, בקרוב בימינו, לעולם ועד תשכון. תתגדל ותתקדש בתוך ירושלים עירך, לדור ודור ולנצח נצחים, ועינינו תראנה מלכותך, כדבר האמור בשירי עוזך, על ידי דוד משיח צדקך. ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינוי ימוש לעולם ועד, כי המלך קדוש וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. ישמח משה. יתקרא ויקרא שמי רבה, ביאמה דברח ירותיו ימליך מלכותי, וחייכון וימיכון וחי לכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ימרו, אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך, לעולם וליומי עולמיה יתברך, יתברך וישתבח ויתפור ויתרומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתהלל ויתהלל שמי לקודשה, בריחו לעילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירם בימה ויאמרו, אמן. תתקבל צלותון ובעלתון לכל ישראל, קודם אבוהון דבישמעיה ויאמרו, אמן. יהי שלום רבה מן שמעיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ויאמרו, אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל, ויאמרו, amen.
Shkoyach, shkoyach. We want to wish a good job, that's what we're going to say, to Cantor Aronoff, whose voice is getting quite the workout. So we want to thank her and her vocal cords for their triumph over the abuse of the lengthy liturgy. And we are going to continue our service this morning with Seder Kriyat HaTorah on page 168. Page 168, Seder Kriyat HaTorah.
Ein kamocha va'elohim Adonai, v'ein kema'asecha, malchutecha malchut kol olamim, umemshaltecha bechol dor v'ador. Adonai melech, Adonai malach, Adonai yimloch, Leolam va'ed, Adonai os li'amo yitain, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom, Haftarah chamim, heitiv avirtzonecha et Zion, tivne chomot Yerushalayim, tivne chomot Yerushalayim, ki vecha levad batachnu, melech eram v'nisa Adon olamim. Vayehi binsoa Haaron, vayomer Moshe, Kuma Adonai, veyafutzu oivecha, veyanusu misanecha mipanecha, ki mitzion tetze Torah, ki mitzion tetze Torah, Udevar Adonai mi Yerushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah Torah, Li'amo Yisrael B'kedushato. Beyanarachetz velishme kadisha kadisha yakira ana emar tushbechan beyanarachetz velishme kadisha kadisha yakira Ana emar tushbechan yehi rava kadamach detiftach libi beoraita v'tashli mishalin deliba dechol amach Yisrael letav ulechayin velishlam. Amen. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Echad Eloheinu Gadol Adonenu Kadosh Shemo. Gadlu Adonai iti uneromema Shemo yachtav. Lecha Adonai hagedula ve'agevura ve'atiferet ve'anetzach ve'aod ki chol bashamayim u'ba'aretz ki chol bashamayim u'ba'aretz Lecha Adonai hamamlacha V'yamid na'aseh lechol rosh romimu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lehadom raglav kadoshu romimu Adonai Eloheinu v'hishtachavu lehar kodsho ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu. Cover the Torah.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I know the news has been filled with discussion of the new Jeopardy host or hostess, whoever is going to eventually host Jeopardy. So if you ever find yourself on Jeopardy and the subject is Torah portions, I'm gonna set you up for success, okay? Because there's probably like a final Jeopardy question in here, and it's a bit of a trick. What is the final Torah portion read on Shabbat morning? Now, you'd think this is a setup, and it is, because it's not the final Torah portion in the Torah, it's the final Torah portion that's read on Shabbat morning. And you got to say it's Shabbat morning, because in the afternoon, we still read another Torah portion. So the final Torah portion that is read on Shabbat morning is actually the penultimate Torah portion in the Torah, which is our Torah portion from this morning, Ha'azinu. It's not the final Torah portion of the Torah, that's next week, but it's not read on Shabbat ever, right? I don't think so. I think it's actually liturgically impossible that Vizot HaBracha is only read on the afternoons or on the weekday mornings and on Simchas Torah. It's never read on Shabbat morning. So if you find yourself on Jeopardy, and that's the final Jeopardy question, and you win because of what you learned here in Shul this morning, there's a tithing requirement to Adat Ariel. And you probably should be generous and give us 20%, not just 10%. Okay. But I want to just move on. The subject of the Torah portion is actually sort of a stark contrast from... It's interesting to read this Torah portion right after Yom Kippur, because Yom Kippur is all about action, and this Torah portion has a lot to do with emotion, right? That how is Moses direct the people? And he does it through an emotional poem. And I think that speaks to the many ways that we as human beings connect. We not only connect and are sort of, the connective tissue of our lives is not only law, but also narrative. And so that's something for us to think about as we are, it's like the head and the heart. And so I'm not sure that Yom Kippur is certainly only the head, but this Torah portion is certainly a lot about the heart. So we're going to begin now with Ha'azinu, and I turn to our gabbis to announce pages and to call people up, and thank you.
I have to say one thing, that the new host, one of the new hostesses for Jeopardy, Mayim, our friend Mayim, actually would know the answer to that question.
Yes, she would. That's right. That's right. She would know the answer to that question. That's good. But which is always wondering, because you always wonder, like, how does the host, they always say it so confidently, but do they really know the answer, right? Because it's easy to know the answer when you have the card in front of you.
She knows a lot of answers.
The Torah service will begin on
Wait
page...
a second, here you go. So they can hear you in this virtual land.
The Torah service begins on page 1185, top of the page.
Vayazor v'yagin v'yashil l'chol ha'chosim bo v'nomar amen hakol avogod el Eloheinu tnu kavod laTorah ya'amod ba'ali hayakar Moshe ben David HaKohen v'chaya Rishon Kohen Baruch shenatan Torah li'amo Yisrael b'kedushato v'atamad v'kim b'Adonai Elohechem Chayim kolchem hayom.
If you ever want to accuse the cantor of nepotism, you can just reference that moment when she just called her dear husband to the Torah. So,
Baruch Hu Adonai HaBarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Olam Va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech olam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. Ha'azinu hashamayim v'adabera v'tishma ha'aretz imrei fi yarov kamatar likhi tizal katal imrati ki sirim alei deshe v'chirvivim alei esev. It goes across like this. Ki shem Adonai ekra havugod el Eloheinu hatzur tamim palo ki kol drachav mishpat El emunah v'yein avel tzadik v'yashar hu shichet lo banav humam dor ikesh uftaltol hal Adonai tigmelu zot am naval v'lo chacham halo hu avicha kanecha hu asecha v'yechonenecha.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet b'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
The second aliyah can be found on page 1186, verse 7.
Are you the second one? Oh, you're the second one. Ta'amod Samara Leah bat Gershon HaLevi Sheni Levi. Ooh. How old school is right.
Baruch Hu Adonai HaBarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaBarach Le'olam va'ed. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch Atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. Zechor yemot olam binu shnot dor vador she'al avicha v'yaged chazekenecha v'yomru lach v'yanchel elyon goyim b'hafrido b'nei adam yatsev gvulot amim lemispar b'nei Yisrael ki chelek Adonai amo Yaakov chevel nachalato yimtzaehu be'eretz midbar uvetohu yelel yeshimon Yesovevenhu yevonenehu yitzrenhu kiishoneno kenesher yair kino algos alav yirachef yifroz kenafav yikachehu yisaehu alevrato Adonai badad yanchenu ve'enimo el nechar.
Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai,
Shemo.
noten haTorah.
Amen.
The third Aliyah can be found on page 1187, verse 13.
Yamdu libashena bat Baruch Hirsch Barachel ve Yaakov ben Fishel v'Chana Batya Lalia Shlishit.
B'chu et Adonai hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Barach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hamvarach li'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol hamim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Yarkivehu abba motei aretz vayochal tnuvot sadai vaynikeu devash misela v'shemen mechal mishtzur chemat bakar v'chelev tzon im chelev karim ve'elim b'nei vashan ve'atudim im chelev kilyot chita v'damenav tishtechamer vayishman yeshurun vayivat shamanta vita kasita Vayitosh Elo Asahu Vayinabel to Yeshuato Yiknauhu Bizarim Betoevot Yachisuhu Yisbechu Lashedim Lo Eloah Elohim Lo Yedaum Chadashim Mikerev Ba'u Lo Se'arum Avotechem Tzor Yeladcha Hateshi Vatishkach El Mecholelecha.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu torat emet v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
The fourth Aliyah can be found on page 1189, verse 19.
Ya'amod David ben Binyamin Revi'i.
Baruch hu et Adonai המבורך.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
ברוך אדוני המבורך לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו. ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen. Vayar Adonai vayinatz mikas panav uvnotav vayomer astira panai mehem ema achritam kidor tapuchot hema banim lo emun bam hein kinun ivelo el ki asuni bahavlehem va'ani akniem lo am begoy naval achisem Ki eish kadcha be'apid Vatikad el ad she'ol tachtit Vatochal eretz vivulav Vatilahed mosde harim Aspe alemo raot Chitzai achalebam Mezera'av Ulchome reshef v'ketev miriri V'shen behemot ashalech bam Aim chamad zochale afar מחוץ תשקל חרב ומחדרים אימה גם בחור גם בתולה יונק עם איש שיבה אמרתי אפיהם אשביתה מאנוש זכרם לולי כעס אויב אגור פן ינקרו צרמו פן יאמרו ידינו רמה ולא אדוני פעל כל זאת כי גוי עובד עצות המה ואין בהם תבונה.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר נתן לנו תורת אמת וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו, ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
The fifth aliyah can be found on page 1190, verse 29.
יעמוד מנחם בן ישראל ומלכה חמישי.
Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach.
ברוך ה' ברוך לעולם ועד.
Baruch Adonai hamvorach l'olam va'ed. Baruch et Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol hamim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch et Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Luchachamu yashki luzot yavinu la'acharitam. Echa yirdof echad elef ushnayim yanisu rivava. Im lo kituram echaraham varonah hiskiraham. Ki lo mitsurenu tsuram ve'oivenu pelilihim. Ki migefem sedom gafnaham umishad mohot amorah. Ana vemo inve rohosh, ashkelot merorohot lamho. Chamatanihim yenam, virosh petanihim akzahar. Halohu kamuhus imadi, chatuhum beozrotahai. Ki hinakam vishalem le'ehet, tamuhut raglam. Ki karov yom edaham v'chahash atidot lamho. Ki adin Adonai amoho ve'alavadav yitnecham. Ki yir'eh ki azlat yahad ve'efetz atzur ve'atzuv. Ve'amahar Elohemu tzur chasayuvoho. Asher chelev zivochemo yochelu. Yishtuhu Yehenesicham Yakumu Vazruchem Yehi Alechem Sitraham Reu Ata Ki Anihu Ve'en Elohim Imadi Ani Amihit Va'achayeh Machatzti Va'ani Erpaha V'en miyadi matzil.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
The sixth aliyah can be found on page 1192, verse 40.
What's your name again? Oh, right, that's what I thought. Ya'amod Avraham ben Yosef Moshe v'Sheva. Shishi.
Indeed. Whoops. All the time. All right. Sorry. Consider it an air kiss. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach. Baruch Adonai hamvorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Ki esa el shamayim yadi va'amarti chayanochi le'olam. Im shanoti berach arbihi v'toches b'mishpat yadi ashiv nakam litzarai v'lim samnai ashaleim ashkihir chitzai midam v'charbihi tocha basar midam chalav v'shivya merosh parot oyev Arni hinu goyim amoho kidam avadav dikom Venakam yashiv litzarai v'chi perad mato. 'Amen. 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 '
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam nata b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Just give me 1 second. Wait, Hillel, before you go anywhere, stay right over here. We want to give a warm welcome back. Now, we understand that Hillel is still in the midst of recovery from some back surgery. And so this is his as Cantor Aronoff said, your pre-Gomel welcome back. It's sort of the road to recovery welcome back. But seeing you here today and not seeing your smile, but feeling your smile is really something special. I just want to say that the spirit with which you encountered your surgery was just really inspiring. For those of you, just that brightness and that sort of the brightness of spirit was really felt every time that I spoke with you, and I just think that that's an incredible blessing. And so may God bless you with a fullness of recovery and a fullness of spirit, and let us all say to that, Amen.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
You're very kind.
The
All
Torah
of
service
that.
continues with the 7th Aliyah on page 1193, verse 44.
Ta'amod. Shena bat Mordechai v'Sara. L'aliyah shvi'it.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMerach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai HaMerach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher bachar banu mikol hamim. V'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. Vayavo Moshe vayraber ekol hadivrei hashira hazot be'oznei ha'am hu Hoshea bin Nun. Vayechal Moshe liraber ekol hadvarim ha'ele el kol Yisrael. Vayomer alehem sihimu levavechem lechol hadvarim asher anochi me'id bachem hayom asher titzavum et b'nechem asher titzuvam et b'nechem lishmor la'asot et kol divrei haTorah hazot ki lo diber reku mikem ki hu chayechem uvadavar hazeh ta'arihu yamim al ha'adma al ha'adamah asher atem ovrim et hayarden shama l'rishtah vayedaber Adonai al Moshe be'etzem hayom hazeh le'mor alei el har ha'avarim hazeh har Nebo asher be'eretz Moab asher al pnei Yericho Ur'e et eretz Canaan asher ani noten livnei Yisrael achuzah umut behar asher ata ole shama ve'asef el amecha ka'asher meid Aharon achechav behor ha'har ve'asef el amav asher me'altehem bi betoch b'nei Yisrael b'mei merivat kadesh min marzin asher lo kidashtem oti betoch b'nei Yisrael ki minegen tireh et haaretz v'shama lo tavo el haaretz asher ani noten livnei Yisrael.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen. We'd like to ask the congregation to please rise for the Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitkadav, Yitkadash Shemei Rabbah,
Amen.
Yamadi Barach Yirutei V'yamlich Malchutei, V'chayechon Uv'yomechon, Uv'chayei Decho Beit Yisrael, Bagala, Bagala, ובזמן קריב יאמרו אמן. יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ליומי עולמי. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ויאמרו.
Amen. Please be seated.
Guess what? Only one Torah. It's Shabbos. Ya'amod bachor bar mitzvah. Well, it was his bar mitzvah some years ago this Shabbos.
33.
Shall I say that? 33 years ago, this Shabbos was this little boy's bar mitzvah. Ya'amod, is it Michael?
No.
Oh, see? Hillel? Okay.
Melech Shimon ben Shmuel Yisrael
Melech Shimon ben Shmuel Yisrael Halevi Maftir Chazak.
Why not? You're always a bar mitzvah.
Yes.
Okay.
Baruch hu et Adonai hambarach.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Le'olam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai hambarach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten ha'Torah.
Amen. The Maftir Aliyah can be found on page 1194, verse 48.
Amen. Vayidaber Adonai al Moshe be'etzem hayom hazeh lemor aleh el har ha'avarim hazeh har Nebo asher be'eretz Moab asher al pnei Yerecho ur'ei et eretz Canaan asher ani noten livnei Yisrael achuzah Umut behar asher atau leshama ve'asef el amav ka'asher meit Aharon achicha behor hahar ve'asef el amav asher me'altem bi betoch b'nei Yisrael b'mei merivat kadesh midbar tzin asher lo kidashtem oti betoch b'nei Yisrael Ki mineged tireh et haaretz, v'shama lo tavo el haaretz, asher ani noten livnei Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet v'hayei olam nata betochenu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Ya'amdu. Ha-ha. Hamagbia. Hamagbia. Ha-ha. Golelet? Are you the Golelet? Okay, you have a really strong right hand.
Please rise. Okay. Please rise for the lifting and wrapping.
I wouldn't mess with them. Torah, asher sham Moshe, livnei Yisrael, Adonai, b'yad Moshe. La 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 la. I think it's the other way. La 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 la. Make it tight. La 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 la. La 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 la. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Lie, 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 lie. Nine, 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 nine. I lie, 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 I lie, nine, 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 nine.
Ay, la, 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 la. Ay, la, 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 la. Ay, la, 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 la. Ay, la, la, la. Lai, 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 lai. Yasher kochech Julie. Lai, 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 lai. Lai, lai, lai. Lai, lai.
We can all be seated. I have to say, there's another Jeopardy question. What is an impossible Hagba for a lefty? And it is Ha'azinu, because it is all on the right side. So I have to say, Julie, wherever you are, where'd you go? You win strongest person at a .REL contest, because that is one heck of a Hagba. So thank you for that, and we'll all be thanking you as we eat Shabbat lunch without needing to fast. So thank you. We're going to now, at this point in our service, in recognition of the illnesses and the suffering in the world, we're going to offer a Misha Berach for the Cholim, for all those people in need of healing. So if you're at home and watching, you can add a name to the chat. If you're here with us, we invite you to please rise in your place. And when I look in your direction, please share the name of the person or people that you're praying for so we can all pray on their behalf.
Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu yivarech v'yirapeh et hacholim Ela Refana
Avraham ben Yosef. Did I miss anyone?
Lida bat Bracha, Badena bat Yocheved, Aviva bat Abraham.
Melech ben Bela.
Mishaberach Avoteinu Avram Yitzchak Ve'Yaakov Sarah Rivka Rachel v'Leah Hu yevarech v'yirapeh et hacholim
At this point in the service, we're going to turn to our Haftarah, which is similarly, it's a song or a poem from King David after he is saved from the hands of Saul. And so it sort of mirrors Moses's hymn as well. So that Haftarah can be found on page 1197. Page 1197.
And just fair warning, as Cantor Aronoff asked me to do, I'm chanting it using the Sephardic trope because
It's up
I
all the way.
was bar mitzvahed at
Speak up, sir.
I was bar mitzvahed at Mikveh Israel in Philadelphia, which is the Spanish-Portuguese synagogue and one of the oldest in the United States. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nbi'im tovim v'ratza b'divreihem hanamarim be'emet. Baruch atah Adonai habocher b'Torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'Viviyeh ha'emet v'tzedek. Vaydaber David la'Adonai et divrei hashira hazot b'yom hitzil Adonai oto mikaf kol oyavai umikaf Shaul vayomar Adonai salai sarati falti li Elohei tzuri echesed bo Migani vekeren yishi, miskabi umnosi, moshii mechamis toshieni, mechulal ekra Adonai, ume oyavai ivashea, ki afafuni mishparei mavet, Nachale v'yala al v'yivaatuni chevle sha'ol sabuni kidamuni mokshe mavet batzar li ekra Adonai ve'el Elohei ekra V'yishma mechayech lo koli, v'shava'ati ba'azuni, v'yiga'ash v'torash ha'aretz, mosedot hashamayim yargazu, v'yiga'ashu ki haralo, ala asan ba'apo, v'esh mipin tochel, gechelim ba'aru mimenu. Vayet shamayim v'yarad, v'arafel tachat raglav, v'yarkav al karuv, v'ya'uf, v'yara al kanfei ruach. V'yashet v'yeshet choshech sibivotai sukot hashrat mayim ave shechkim mino gi negdo ba'aru gachale esh yara'im min shamayim Adonai ve'eyalot yitain kolo vayishlach hitzim vayivtseim barak vayahom vayera'u afke yam yigalu mosadot tevel be'agarat Adonai menishmat ruach hapo yishlach mimarom yikacheni v'yam sheni mimayim rabim Yatzileni me oyavai az Moshiani ki amtsu mimeni ikadamuni bayom edi vahai Adonai Moshian li vayotse lim harav oti yachalitzeni ki chafetz bi Igmaleni Adonai ki tzadakiti kavor yadei yishiv li ki shamrati darchem Adonai v'lo rashati me Elohei ki kol mishpatav lenegedi v'hu katav lo asur mimena va'ayatimim lo ve'esh tamra me avoni vayasher Adonai li ketzid kati kivori leneged einan im chasid tit chasad im gibor tamim titamam im navar titavar im ikesh titapal ve'et am eini toshia ve'einecha al ramim tishpil ki ata neri Adonai v'Adonai yegiachashki ki v'char arutz gadud be'elohi adaleg shur ha'el tamim darchot imrat Adonai tzerufa magenhu lechol hachosim bo kimiel mibalade Adonai umitzior mibalade Eloheinu ha'el me'odzi chayil vayitar tamim darki Mishaveh raglai ka'ayalot va'al b'motai ya'amideni milamed yadi lamalchama v'nachat keshet nechoshe zero otai v'titan li magen yisha echa v'anotecha tarbeni tarhiv Sa'adi tachateni velo ma'adu karsuli lai erdefa oyavai ve'esh midem velo ashu ad kalotam va'achalem ve'em chatzem velo yakumun va'yif lo tachat raglai V'tarzreini chayil lamachama tarchia kamai tachteni v'oyavai tatali oref misania v'atzmitein yishau ve'im Moshia el Adonai v'lo anam ve'esh chakim ka'afar aretz Ketid hutsuto adakim erkaim vet falotini marave ami toshmarana larosh goyim amlo yadaati yaavduni b'nei nachar yit ka'ashuli Lishmoa az yishmuo li b'nei nachar yibolu yitcharu mimes gurotam Chai Adonai uvaruch shemo v'yaram Elohai tzor yishi ha'el hanoten nikamot li Umorid amayim tachteni umotzi'i ma'oyavai Kamai taro mimeni meish hamasim tatzileni. Al kain odecha Adonai bagoyim ulishimcha azamer. Migdol Yeshuo Malko Liose Chesed Lim Shicho Le David Olizaro Ad Olam. Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Tzur Kaholamim Tzadik B'chol Hadorot Ha'el HaNe'eman V'oser HaMedaber Kayim Sheb'chol Devarav Emet V'Tzedek Ne'eman Atahu Adonai Eloheinu V'nemachim Devarecha V'dabar Echad Midvarecha Ahor Lo Yoshuv Rekam Ki El Melech Ne'eman Rachaman Ata Baruch Ata Adonai Ha'el HaNe'eman B'chol Devarav Rachem Al Tzion Ki Hi Beit Chayenu V'la ala chuvat nefesh toshia b'mhera v'yameinu Baruch Ata Adonai Mesameach Zion b'vanecha Samcheinu Adonai Eloheinu B'Elohu hanavi avdecha Umalchu beit avi mishichecha B'mhera yavo v'yagel libor Al kisio lo yoshezev Yeshev zar v'lo yinchalu od acharim et kavodo Ki b'shem kodshecha nashba'ata lo shalo yivbe nero li'olam va'ed Baruch Ata Adonai Magen David Al HaTorah v'al Havodah v'al Hanvi'im v'al Yom HaShabbat hazeh Shenatata lanu Adonai Eloheinu litushav linucha lechavod ultifaret Al HaKol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim blach umvarchim otach Yiparak shimcha b'fi kol hai tamid le'olam va'ed Baruch Ata Adonai Mikadesh HaShabbat.
We'd like to thank Michael for leading us in a beautiful Haftarah chanting, and we look forward to seeing footage from that bar mitzvah in Mikveh Israel. It doesn't exist. The tapes have been lost or covered up. What is it? Anyway, we'll talk about that later. So thank you to Michael for chanting Haftarah, and this is really, it's actually very special that Leah chanted the Haftarah last week, and Michael's chanting the Haftarah this week. And so they're tag teaming. The kids are in the swimming pool at home, but they're taking their soccer. Okay, so they're taking turns, but we're just happy to have your family with us and participating. We are going to continue with a prayer for our country towards the bottom of page 177. So please join me in reading the last paragraph of the page 177. May it be your will that our land be a blessing to all who dwell on earth, and may you cause all peoples to dwell in friendship and freedom. Speedily fulfill the vision of your prophets. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, neither shall they learn war any more. For all of them, from the least of them to the greatest, shall know me. And let us say, Amen. And let's turn together to the Hebrew on page 178 as we offer a tefillah for our homeland, Medinat Yisrael. Page 178, together in the Hebrew. Avinu Shabashamayim, Tzor Yisrael v'goelo, Barechet Medinat Yisrael, Reshitz Me'ichat Geulatenu, Hagen Aleha be'avrat chasdecha, Ufros Alea Sukat Shlomecha, Ushlach Orcha v'amicha l'rashea, Sarea v'yotzea, V'taknim be'etzat tova milpanecha, Chazek et yidei mignei Eretz Kodshenu, V'hanchilem Eloheinu Yeshua, V'ateret nitzachon ta'atrem, V'natata shalom ba'aretz, V'simchat olam yoshvea, V'nomar Amen. And now we will ask everyone to please turn to page 181, page 181, as our upcoming bat mitzvah leads us in the Ashrei.
Alana Kramer, come on forward.
Ashrei Yoshvei Veiteha, Odia Hallelu Hasela. Tehillah le David, Armim Hayel HaMelech, Va'arvarcha Shim Chalelam Va'ed. B'chol Yom Avrachecha, V'halelah Shim Chalelam Va'ed. Oh, wrong one?
Gadol, Gadol, Gadol.
Gadol Adonai Hula Me'od, V'li Gilato in Heker.
Dor ledor yishabach maseh.
Hadar Kivot Hodeha, V'divrei Nifloteha Asiha. Zaharav Sufhayabi, V'sikataha Yeranenu. Tov Adonai Lakol, Rachamav Al Kol Ma'asav. Kevod Malchota Yomeru, Uburotaha Yadaveru. Malchutha Malchut Kol Olamim, Amen Shataha Behodor Vador. Ene Kol Elahaya Saberu, Veata Notein Lahem Etoflam Be'ito. Tzadik Adonai Beholder Ha, V'chasi Behol Ma'asav. Ratzon Yer Al Ya'aseh, Be'et Shavtam Yishmo V'yoshiem. Tehillah Adonai Yad Ber Pi, V'varech Kol Basar Shem Kodsho Le'lam Va'ed. V'anachnu Nivarech Yah Me'ata Olam Hallelujah.
We'd like to thank Ms. Kramer for leading us in the Ashrei, and that is certainly an Ashrei worthy of a fist bump, an elbow, or... Yeah. There you go. Okay, very good. And we will now ask, well, you're already standing, so that's good. We're going to return the Torah on page 183.
Yahalelu et Shem Adonai, ki niskav Shemo levado, hodo al eretz v'shamayim, vayarem keren leyamo, tila lechol chasidav, livnei Yisrael am kirovo, hallelujah. Hallelujah, Mizmor LeDavid, Havul Adonai B'nei Elim, Havul Adonai Kavod Va'oz, Havul Adonai Kavod Shemo, Ishtachavu Adonai Behadrat Kodesh, Vayechesof Ye'arot, Uvechalot Kulo Omer Kavod, Adonai lama buliyashav, Vayeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai os li'amo yiten, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom, uvnucho yomar shuv Adonai. Etz chayimi lama chazikim ba v'tomcheha meyushar teracheha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha shalom. Hashivenu Adonai Elecha
ונשובה. חדש, חדש ימינו, חדש ימינו כקדם.
It's now my pleasure to introduce our Darshanit for this morning, Joette Labinger, and we're all looking forward to hearing Joette's words of Torah and to celebrating with her all of her insights.
Thank you, Rabbi. I would like to start this drash by acknowledging and honoring two very special people. First, my husband, Rabbi Marv Labinger, Zichrono Livracha, who gave me the best Jewish education imaginable. His writings and library were invaluable to me in preparing this drash. Second person is Abby Spivak, whose yahrzeit is today. She was studying to be a chaplain, and I hold a special place in my heart for chaplains. May her memory be a blessing. The Song of Moses in this week's Sedra is one that speaks of Israel's past, present, and future. It describes God's love for his people Israel, giving examples of that love from Israel's history. Moses compares God to a rock, referring to his strength and steadfastness. He compares God to an eagle, tenderly caring for its young. God watched over Israel and provided for all its needs from the desert to the promised land. Israel's response was that of an ungrateful child. For demonstrating faithlessness and disloyalty, Israel receives punishments ranging from famine and plague to war with all its terrors. But God will not allow the destruction of the Jewish people and the resulting mockery by Israel's enemies. To protect God's own honor, God will punish those nations whose evils are compared to those of Sodom and Gomorrah. The end of Moses' song brings consolation to Israel. God's love and care, described so beautifully at the beginning of the poem, will always be there for Israel to rely on. After Moses finished delivering his message of past history, present concerns, and future hope, he was instructed by God to ascend Mount Nebo and prepare for his death. When Moses ascended Mount Nebo, it was the third time in his life that he found himself on a mountaintop having an important encounter with God. The first such encounter took place on Mount Horeb when Moses was a shepherd tending his father-in-law's sheep. He came upon a bush that was burning, but not being consumed. His curiosity made him turn and approach it. God spoke to Moses from the bush and gave him the mission of rescuing the Jewish people from their slavery in Egypt. This was a major task, and although Moses hesitated initially, he finally accepted and left immediately to begin the work necessary to accomplish this very important mission of action. Moses understood that what he was attempting to do was to right a terrible wrong, to try to make the world a better place. Moses' next experience with God on a mountain resulted in changes not just for the Jewish people, but eventually for the whole world. Through his encounter on Mount Sinai, Moses gave us all a challenge and a responsibility to live our lives ethically. He taught us the guidelines which govern our relationships with God and with all people. He knew that it was not enough that the Jewish people were freed from slavery. They also needed to learn the tools necessary to be responsible, thinking, caring adults. The result of this event was that Moses became Moshe Rabbeinu, our teacher and mentor. Moses' ascent of Mount Nebo, as described in today's Sidra, is the third and last time in his life that he has a crucial mountaintop experience with God. He is instructed to climb Mount Nebo and view the land of Canaan before he dies. Although Moses is not given the opportunity to enter the promised land, he is allowed to see it from a distance. It is his vision of an unfulfilled dream, and yet there is hope coupled with his disappointment. He is comforted knowing that although he himself will not enter the land, his children and their descendants will occupy it after he is gone. This picture of Moses on Mount Nebo at the end of his life reminded me of a poster we used to have. It was a large picture of an elderly man's face, wrinkled and well-worn with time. The caption at the bottom read, "Every man is a Moses. He wants to see the promised land in his own lifetime." How true that is for all of us. So let's look at ourselves and see how we can all relate to these mountaintop experiences of Moses. When he received his charge on Mount Horeb to rescue the Israelites from slavery, Moses was an idealist. He had a mission and a method of achieving it. He knew that what he was doing was right and extremely important. The results of his efforts would affect not only the Israelite slaves in Egypt, but ultimately generations of both Jews and non-Jews alike. The idealism of youth is a wonderful thing to see. The young can easily identify what is wrong in the world. They also have a plan of action to correct the wrongs they see. When I was in college, I participated in marches and demonstrations to effect changes, and some of it was successful. The causes were both small, such as demonstrating for a stop sign at a campus intersection, and more worldly, as when I marched in opposition to the war in Vietnam or in support of the State of Israel. The next generation in my family now are active environmentalists, both in a professional capacity and in their personal lives. Professionally, they are biologists working to preserve the natural resources that God has entrusted into our care. Personally, they actively promote recycling and support organic farming. They have a mission and a method of achieving it. They are not only environmentally responsible, but are educating others to be the same. Idealism, a mission, a call to action, like Moses on the mountain hearing God from a burning bush. By the time Moses reached Mount Sinai with the Jewish people, he knew that his earlier idealism was not enough to guide them. They needed to learn more about ethics, morals, and responsibility. As adults, we face many challenges that require us to act ethically, morally, and responsibly. The way that we relate to our families, our friends, our co-workers, and other acquaintances defines the type of people we are. The challenges and responsibilities facing each of us are different. In my career as a school teacher, I was entrusted with the education of a new group of students each year. Not only was I responsible for what they learned, but also for making the learning environment comfortable by how I acted towards them. I gave them a lot of knowledge, but I also taught them through my actions. As parents, we have the responsibility to teach our children. We can teach them to be thoughtful of and respectful to others by being that way ourselves. And we can teach them by loving them. In whatever job each of us undertakes, or whatever relationships we have, we are reminded by Moses' encounter on Mount Sinai of the need to act as thinking, caring, responsible adults. Just as Moses became Moshe Rabbeinu, so all of us reach the stage of acting as teachers and mentors to those who follow us. As Moses approaches the end of his life and journeys up Mount Nebo, he is aware of his accomplishments and also his mistakes. He accepts responsibility for the things he has done wrong and knows that he can now only see the promised land, but not enter it. Many people live their lives successfully, working hard at both their jobs and relationships, and are still left with unfulfilled hopes and dreams. My mother-in-law was a wonderful lady who lived a long and fulfilling life. She worked very hard during her life, and yet she considered herself a very lucky woman. She lived for nearly 94 years and had seen phenomenal changes in the world. She enjoyed loving children, grandchildren, and the best thing, great-grandchildren. But it was always the hope for the future that she saw. She looked forward to every new birth, bar or bat mitzvah, and wedding as an indication of future promise for her family. Her dream of seeing her first great-grandson's bar mitzvah remained unfulfilled as it took place after she passed away. She looked at my role as a Jewish woman very different from her own Orthodox role and was pleased with the direction she saw Jewish women taking. I think she would be quite impressed that her great-granddaughter was ordained as a rabbi a few years ago. Towards the end of her life, her memory failed her. She became upset when she couldn't remember everyone who came to visit her. And yet she knew, without remembering our names, that her family's future was secure. It was the same hope that Moses saw when looking into the promised land from Mount Nebo. A number of years ago, Marv and I had the opportunity, while visiting Israel, to take a trip to Jordan and stand on Mount Nebo looking into the promised land, as Moses did. The view was vast, although smoggy. We could see as far south as the Dead Sea and almost to Lake Kinneret in the north. The wind blew the sand and dust around, and I pictured that poster of mine again. We all are like Moses, wanting to see the promised land in our own lifetime. Perhaps our idea of the promised land has changed recently. The mountain this time is a pandemic. We tried to climb it to reach the summit, which would be an end to the disease and its restrictions. I have always been an optimist, but I must say that this pandemic is trying my optimism. I still have hope for the future, although it is a bit tempered by the current reality. I am glad to be able to see so many people in person, but at the same time realizing that so many of you are only able to be here virtually. I hope that all of you have had or will have Moses' mountaintop peak experiences. The youthful idealism from Mount Horeb, the sense of responsibility from Mount Sinai, and the comfort of hope for the future that he received at Mount Nebo. Shabbat Shalom.
Joette, what a beautiful Devar Torah, weaving in Moses' own personal progression through his life with your own family's narrative and your narrative as well. It was quite touching to not only hear about. It's interesting because we heard the future at the earliest stages, right? When you spoke about your kids and their idealism at Moses' stage, and then sort of tied it back to your grandmother. And so it was just really beautiful how all of the generations were represented through Moses' life. So thank you for just a very thoughtful and rich Devar Torah, giving us insight not only into Moses' life, but your life and your family's life as well. We're going to continue with the Musaf service on page 184. Page 184.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah v'yamad yivrachi u'teviam lichmalchutei v'chayechonu v'yimechonu v'chaydocha b'it Yisrael b'agalav v'zman kariv v'meru Amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevorach li'olam li'omei omaya yitbarach Yitbarach, Vishtabach, Vitvar, Viturman, Vinaseh, Vitadar, Vitaleh, Vitalal, Shmei Dekudesha, Brichu Li'elam, Min Kol Berchata V'Shirata, Tushbachata V'Nechemata, Tamiran Bi'alema V'Meru. Amen.
Please rise for the Musaf Hamidah, which can be found beginning on page 185. Page 185.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel Chasadim Tovim וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גואל לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ופוקד ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ופוקד שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיים מתים אתה רב להושיע. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים. נעריצך ונקדישך כסוד שיח שרפי קודש, המקדישים שמך בקודש, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה אל זה ויאמר, קדוש 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 אדוני צבאות מלוא כל הארץ כבודו. כבודו מלא עולם, משרתיו שואלים זה לזה, איה מקום כבודו, לעומתם ברוך יאמרו, ברוך כבוד אדוני ממקומו. ממקומו יפן ברחמים, ויחונם המייחדים שמו ערב ובוקר בכל יום תמיד, פעמיים פעמיים באהבה שמע אומרים, שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד, הוא אלוהינו, הוא אבינו, הוא מלכנו, הוא מושיענו, והוא ישמיענו ברחמיו שנית לעיני כל חי, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ובדברי קודשך כתוב לאמור, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון, לדור ודור, הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינוינו לעולם ועד. כי המלך גדול וקדוש אתה, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. I just said to Rabbi Schuldenfrei, I feel like singing Yismachu. It's Shabbos, it's not Sukkot, it's not Rosh Hashanah, it's not Yom Kippur. Helps to remind me that it's Shabbat, and we haven't done it out loud in a long time. So 189, top of the page, Yismachu, please join me. You get a little sound for the guitar here. Yismechu b'malechutecha, shomrei, 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 Shabbat kore, oneg Shabbat. Yismechu במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת מקדשי מקדשי שבי שבת כולם ישבעו ויתנגו מטובך השבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת והשביעי רצית בו וקידשתו שבת חמדת ימים כותו קראת זכר למעשה בראשית שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת ישמחו במלכותך שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת יקרא ויקרא שמי רבה
אמן.
ביום דברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון ומכון וחי לכל בית ישראל בעגלה בזמן קריב ימרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ליומי יומי יתברך וישתבח ויתפור ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשה בריחו לי אלה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירון בימה ויאמרו אמן תתקבל צלותון ובאותון תכל ישראל קדם אבוהני ושמי ויאמרו אמן יהי שלום רב מן שמיה וחיים עלינו בכל ישראל ויאמרו אמן עושה שלום במרומיו הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ויאמרו Amen.
Ein Kelohinu, page 204.
Ein Kelohenu, ein Kadonenu, ein Kemalkenu, ein Kemoshienu, mi Kelohenu, mi Kadonenu, mi Kemalkenu, mi Kemoshienu, no del Eloheinu, no del Adonenu, no del Malkeinu, no del Moshienu, Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu.
Please rise, Aleinu, page 205.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי ארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל עמונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, מושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו, אין אודם את מלכנו, אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא אלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת, אין עוד. על כן נקבל לך אדוני מלך. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא Hayom ahu yeh Adonai echad, Ushema, Ushema, Ushema echad.
At this point in the service, we'd like to invite those of you who are in mourning or observing a yahrzeit to please rise as we sanctify God's name with the words of Mourner's Kaddish on page 207. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabah v'alma divra kirute v'amlich malchute v'chayechon uv'yomeachon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'olam omei olmaya yit barach v'yishtavach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shemei dekudisha b'richu le'ela minko birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran v'alma v'yimru amen. Yehi shlomo rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimru amen. And may God grant comfort to all those who are in mourning, and may that comfort be felt in the beautiful memories of the departed. And to you, Gary and Linda, a special Hamakom Yenachem, as we're sure that Abby's memory serves as a blessing, and we're thinking of you. And at this point, it's my privilege to call upon Adam for some announcements and greetings. And are you going to do this in Torah trope to the...
Sephardi Torah trope,
okay.
in honor of Michael.
In honor of Michael's bar mitzvah from 33 years ago.
Shabbat shalom, everyone, and welcome to Adat Ariel, both in person and virtually. We'd like to thank everyone who participated in our service this morning. Our Darshanit was Joette Lavenger. Our Ashrei was chanted by next week's bat mitzvah, Alana Kramer. Our Haftarah reader was Michael Rosenzweig, also celebrating a B'nai Mitzvah anniversary. Our Aliyah coordinator was Jim Lesserman. Our Gabayim were Ray Glasser and Samara Lewinson. Our greeters were Shana Steinberg and Samara Lewinson. Our host was Eliana Lewinson, and you had a couple Torah readers, Cantor Judy Dubin-Aronoff and myself. So we've all had a chance to meet our new senior rabbi, I hope, but he's really excited to get to know us even better. So over the next several months, Rabbi Shulden Fry would like to visit your homes personally and chat with you and all of your Adat Ariel friends. Please consider hosting a casual meet and greet in your backyard. And please email our program coordinator, Andrea Jaffe, to sign up for this exciting opportunity. A farewell to Rabbi Jonathan Jaffe Bernhard. On this next Saturday, September 25th at 7:30, we invite you to join our Adat Ariel community for a night of gratitude and celebration as we bid farewell to Rabbi Jonathan Jaffe Bernhard. Good food, music, celebration will be held in the Kaplan Outdoor Pavilion. For more information, please visit our Adat Ariel website and do it quickly because signups are going to be closed very shortly. Sukkot and Simchat Torah programming coming up on Monday, September 20th. There will be a teen event, Donuts and Decorating the Sukkah with Rabbi Shulden Fry. On Wednesday evening, September 22nd, is the annual ECC Pizza and PJs in the Sukkah. That'll be at 5:30 p.m. And that'll be followed Wednesday the 22nd with a Chai Neighbors event in the Sukkah beginning at 7:30 p.m. On Friday, September 24th at 6 p.m., we'll have Shabbat and sushi in the Sukkah. A lot of S's there. On Tuesday, September 28th at 6 to 7th, we'll have our Simchat Torah celebration. Kulanu. We're excited to announce the start of our new interactive Shabbat morning experience just for kids, Kulanu. Come to the first gathering of the K through second grade and or third through sixth grade groups on October 2nd and enjoy the music, the fun, and the friendship. Kulanu will meet on the first Shabbat morning of every month, and more information will be available after Sukkot and Simchat Torah. MID, our wonderful MID program is returning on October 6th, 2021. We are pleased to welcome new and returning teachers with a new set of interesting and provocative classes. Classes in the fall will be on Zoom. However, as soon as we are able to return to campus safely, we will notify you. You can sign up for classes on our website or reach out to Susie Katz or Rosalie Pachertsky for more information. Our fall reading club with Lisa Silverman will be starting in September, soon hopefully. With our first meeting at the beginning of October, go to the website under Adult Education for the latest book selections, dates, and how to sign up. I'm almost done. Women of Adat. All you women out there, don't forget to join us for the Women of Adat. We have our membership event coming up in October and lots of other great programming in the works. And of course, I encourage you to visit the website to get all other information you can about Adat Ariel. Have a restful Shabbat, and we look forward to seeing you all this coming week, either in person or virtually. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. I always have something to add, right? Don't I? Or usually, right? So I'm just going to add something about, I think it's this coming Shabbos, which is already Shabbat Chol HaMoed. This time of year always surprises me with how we go boom, 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 from one thing to the next to the next. So Erev Shabbat, the 24th, I believe you announced something like sushi in the sukkah, stuff I don't eat. I don't eat sushi. 6 o'clock, obviously the 6 o'clock time is our service time. We are starting with not that food called sushi, but starting instead with services at 6 o'clock. And as we are celebrating the bat mitzvah of Alana Kramer, and her father Ross happens to be in the Naranana band, so it may just be that some of the Naranana band will show up and participate in some way in that service. Hint, hint. So just a word to the wise for those who are particular devotees of Naranana. Come for a taste of Naranana this coming Erev Shabbat, also as we begin the Shabbat of Alana's bat mitzvah, Chol HaMoed Sukkot. As far as Kulanu goes, I'm really excited about the start of our Kids Experience Kulanu on October 2nd. Keep that in mind.
Do you mean to tell me you don't even eat avocado rolls?
That what?
Like avocado rolls. It's just avocados.
Yeah, but I don't like seaweed either. So if you wrapped avocado and vegetables in just rice, then I could eat it. And now everybody knows my sushi preferences.
That's no longer sushi, that's vegetables and rice.
No seaweed.
No fish, no seaweed, no soy sauce, no miso.
You can have my seaweed, always.
Okay, that's a deal. So anyway, I think the cantor is making strong culinary preferences, but what I've discovered is that the first night, do you like donuts? Because we have donuts first, then we have pizza, then Chai Neighbors is drinking wine in the sukkah, then we're having sushi in the sukkah, and then we're having a catered dinner in honor of Rabbi Bernhardt in the sukkah. So whatever your culinary preferences are, we're all going to need to go on Weight Watchers after the holiday. So I look forward to doing that. But we are going to conclude our service with Adon Olam, and Adon Olam, page 211.
So I have to say something before Adon Olam. Our bar mitzvah anniversary, Michael over there challenged me sometime in the summer. He said, Cantor, I would like you this year, and the year began with Rosh Hashanah, I believe. I'm not sure. Maybe it began with July. I don't remember. We'll talk about it after. To try to do a different Adon Olam every week. So the problem, of course, is that I will never remember which one I did last week when I do one this week. I'll have to on Shabbos, like right after Shabbos, write it down. Not on Shabbos, after Shabbos, write it down or something. And I also said that I needed the out, that if a particular bar mitzvah family or bat mitzvah family wanted a particular Adon Olam, that didn't count. So I'm going to do one that I don't think we've done, at least in the last few weeks. That probably you all know. But I also have a book with like 65 Adon Olam tunes. Adon Olam, asher malach, b'terem kol yitzir nivra, li'et nasa b'chefzo kol, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי ככלות הכל, לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה, והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה. אדון עולם אשר מלך, בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נעשה בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשילו להכבירה, בלי ראשית בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה. אדון עולם אשר מלך, בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נעשה בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, והוא אלי וחי גואלי, וצור חבלי בעת צרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום אקרא. אדון עולם אשר מלך, בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נעשה בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא, בידו אף כדרוכי, ויית אישן ועירה, ואם רוחי גוויעתי, אדוני לי בלא עירה. אדון עולם אשר מלך, בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נעשה בחפצו כל, אזי מלך שמו נקרא. לחיים. Amen. Shabbat shalom. Good Shabbos. Jim Lesserman, before you leave, finish talking to Michael, to Melech. Finish talking to Melech, who's not Michael.